Good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. My computer says it's 6:30, so welcome to the evening continuation of council for today, November the 20th. And I'm checking in with council again on disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof with the rest of tonight's agenda. Yep, seeing none. The first item is a formal public meeting. This is a formal public meeting to consider item 10A, official plan amendment number 42 and zoning bylaw amendment Z 22-13 for 83 and 85 Hickory Street West and 265 and 267 Hemlock Street. Any persons who want further notice of this application, including passage of any bylaw, should sign the appropriate register in the binder located on the desk at the rear of the council chambers. If there is more than one binder, please make sure that you are signing the appropriate one. Will the clerk please advise council of the method used to give notice of the meeting and the dates notice was given?
Notice was advertised in the Kitchener-Waterloo Record on October 26, 2023. It was also mailed and emailed on October 24, 2023 to all property owners within 120 meters of the subject property, to public agencies, and to all persons who signed in or spoke at the informal public meeting held on January 16, 2023, as well as all persons who requested further notice.
The planner, Tristan DeVoe, will now give a brief overview of the application. Welcome, Tristan.
Thank you, Chair Freeman. Okay, so yeah, I'll just give a brief overview of the application and staff's recommendations. So for the formal public hearing for official plan amendment number 42 and zoning bylaw amendment Z 2213. The subject property is 8385 Hickory Street West and 265 to 67 Hemlock Street. So the site is located at the corner of Hemlock and Hickory. It's in the Northdale neighborhood. It's comprised of 4 individual lots that currently hold 4 low-density residential buildings. The applicant's plan is to consolidate the lots and build a multi-residential building. The building will be 6 stories, just over 21 meters in height. It'll have 168 units and 186 bedrooms. It'll also have underground parking with 57 spaces and bicycle parking for 70 bicycles. Just a couple pictures of the render. Proposed renders. The applicant is also here to speak to the application, so I'm sure they'll provide more details on the design. And just the proposed site plan as well, occupying a majority of the site. There's some ground-oriented residential units, but it is an entirely residential building that's being proposed, and all the parking is located in structured parking underground. So the policy framework, the official plan currently is designated as, or currently designates the site as low-density residential, and it's in the Special Provision Area 45, which is the Northdale Special Provision Area, which those two combined together generally intend the site for kind of low to medium density residential, up to 250 bedrooms per hectare. The site is also within the University of Waterloo station area. From a zoning perspective, the current regulations on the site, it is residential Northdale 6, and it is subject to a holding provision, as are all properties within the Northdale area that haven't been developed yet. Allows for a height of 6 stories, just over 21 meters, and again, as with the OP, 250 bedrooms per hectare, and a variety of kind of that medium scale, low to medium scale residential is permitted on the site. So to facilitate the proposed development, the applicant is requesting to amend the official plan for the site. So the official plan amendment is related to density. As I stated, the allowed density on the site is 250 bedrooms per hectare. The applicant is requesting to increase this to 597. So the official plan policies do have some provisions in this area to consider increased density up to 600 bedrooms per hectare. Previously, this was tied to a Section 37 agreement, which is community benefits agreements, as was permitted in the Planning Act. Changes to the Planning Act have removed our ability to take Section 37 agreements, but the guiding principles and policies in the plan to consider increased density are still there. So some of the things that we consider are, is the site suitable for the proposed density in terms of parking, landscaping, other regulations, other site-specific requirements. In this case, they're not seeking to a variance of the parking at all. They are seeking a seeking a landscape open space variance, which I'll talk a bit more in the zoning section. But overall, we do feel that the proposal is in line and is suitable for the area. Increased density should be within the scale of the neighborhood. Again, since this area has previously been considered for increasing density up to 600 units per hectare, the form and scale of the building is appropriate, and there is context. There are buildings that and developments that have seen increases in density in this area, so we believe it's fitting for the area. And the neighborhood infrastructure should be able to support the development as well, and so through submitted servicing studies, transportation impact studies, we believe the applicant has demonstrated that the building is appropriate. So staff is supportive of the official plan amendment. The zoning bylaw is also proposed to be amended. So similar to the official plan, there is a request to increase the density, again, from 250 to 597 bedrooms per hectare. For similar reasons to the official plan, staff is supportive of this increase. There are some additional requests for performance regulations within the RN6 zone. They are maintaining the RN6 zone. These are just site-specific regulations that they're requesting. So they are requesting to reduce the rear yard setback from 7.5 meters to 3.0 meters. The rear yard setback is the long interior lot line. So this particular reduction, staff is supportive of it. It's not the entire back portion of the building that's going to be reduced. It's just a small portion. So in our recommendations, we are requesting that the amount of relief is limited to 25 meters of the building, which corresponds with the portion of the building that is going to encroach within the 7.5 meter setback. The rest of the building is meeting that 7.5 meter setback. There is a request to reduce the landscape open space from 30% to 23%. So this request, staff is supportive of this. One of the reasons is the site itself, and I think I have an image here. They are providing additional amenity spaces, such as for the ground-oriented units. These patios, which is kind of the amenity area for the ground-oriented units, those don't actually meet the definition for landscape open space, so they would not be included in the calculation. So the applicant's position was that overall this would be more beneficial for the residents of the building to have access to these spaces rather than it just be more landscape open space. So staff is supportive of that position and supports the reduction. A couple of additional variances. The exterior stairs along the hemlock frontage are encroaching within the setback. Basically, any stairs that are over 2 feet in height, 0.6 meters in height, need to comply with the setbacks. In this case, because of the zone or the grading of the site, some of these stairs are a bit taller and encroach into that setback. Again, we felt this was a minor variance, and it was important to have direct grade access for these ground floor units, so staff is supportive. And finally, the daylight triangle. No building or structure is allowed to be within the daylight triangle for visibility and safety reasons. In this case, the third story and above does encroach into this area. However, since it is third story and above, it doesn't pose any sort of line of sight issue, so staff is supportive of that. In addition to the minor variances that are requested, there's also a holding provision on the property, and part of this application is to remove the holding provision. For Northdale, and specifically as far as things that are relevant to this site, administration is looking at is there appropriate servicing, is there appropriate neighborhood infrastructure to support the development, and does the development meet the Northdale urban design guidelines? And through the submitted materials, staff believes that they are meeting the criteria to lift the holding provision on the property. So skipping over to just recommendations in general. So recommend that council approve the report, and as well as official plan amendment 42 be adopted and zoning bylaw 722-13 be approved. At this time, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Council, questions for the planner? Councilor Wright.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I'm just wondering, the property that is at the corner of Hickory, I think it's 95 Hickory, that property is also being developed, and I think the demolition has already happened. So I'm wondering about the property line, which is where the rear setback is. Do you know whether the trees along that property line were actually preserved?
Through you, Chair. I'm not sure, and so this is just for clarification. You're asking about the trees on the 90.
Yeah. They're identified in the landscape plan and in the arborist report, and they're flagged as being preserved, and so I'm just wondering, because that other property has begun development, I'm just wondering what protection is happening for them, because they are identified here as supposed to be remaining.
Through you, Chair. That's not something I don't know off the top of my head, I'm afraid. The site plan application for this development is still ongoing, and the landscape vegetation plan is part of that, so that will be something we'll definitely be looking at. If there are trees that were meant to be preserved that haven't been, then landscape plan would have to be updated accordingly, and appropriate vegetation would have to be provided.
Okay, I think that would be worth us just keeping track of, is, if we're requesting that certain trees remain as part of a plan, and then, depending on what's happening next door, we'll really need to kind of keep an eye on that. We lose a lot of vegetation in this neighborhood. Like, I know we have the park across the street there, across Hickory, but it's just, do I have the right street? Am I talking about the right? Yeah, it's Hickory in Hemlock, right, yeah. So across the street on Hickory there, that park has gone in, but it's definitely being greatly impacted by the loss of vegetation, just overall. Thanks.
Other questions of staff? Seeing none, thank you very much. So we do have a delegation. I understand it's a combined delegation of 10 minutes, and I'm not sure who's going first, whether it's Rima or Jennifer Voss, but I'll let you lead in, if you will.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Freeman and members of council. My name is Jennifer Voss of JV Planning and Development Consulting. I'm here tonight with my colleague Rima Masri of Masrio Architects on behalf of the developer, DCB Development Canada, Inc. My presentation expands on Mr. DeVoe's presentation and provides an update on the changes to the proposal following the informal public meeting.
Sorry, Jennifer, can I just trouble you to be a little closer to the microphone?
sorry.
Just, there might be people listening online, it just makes it easier for everyone to
Okay.
hear. Thank you.
And just to detail the changes that were made following the informal public meeting, which was held on January 16th, 2023, this year. So just briefly, as noted, the subject lands are located in the Northdale neighborhood and are designated low-density residential, which is intended to accommodate primary low to mid-rise residential with a maximum of 6 stories. The redevelopment proposal is for a 6-story, 168-unit residential apartment building in accordance with the low-density residential official plan designation and the corresponding Northdale 6 RN6 zone, the aim of which is to encourage new development through the form of infill and intensification, which favors an urban mid-rise building form. This slide just provides a detailed description of the original proposal, which was submitted in August of 2022, and the items that were proposed at that time. While an additional site-specific zoning regulation has been added to the proposal remains relatively unchanged since the informal public meeting. The built form and the number of units remain unchanged. However, the number of bedrooms has been reduced by 17 from 203 bedrooms to 186. And an additional site-specific regulation to reduce the landscaped open space requirement was added to allow for at-grade patios and walkways, which are no longer considered as part of the overall landscaped open space calculation. So my next slide here just shows the proposed variances that Mr. DeVoe had gone over in his presentation. So there's 4 in total, and one being the new one being the landscaped open space reduction. In the original submission, the 30% landscaped open space included hardscape features like the ground floor patios and the walkways. And although the definition of landscaped open space included those items, staff advised that the walkways that primarily serve entryways into the building and the majority of the ground floor patios would not be accepted as landscaped open space. So the small diagram at the side illustrates the private patios comprise 3.6% and the walkways comprise 3.3%, reducing our total landscaped open space from 30.7, which was originally proposed, to 23.8. So to comply with the 30% landscaped open space, we did consider replacing the patios with sod and reducing the size of the walkways and entrances. While these options would decrease the overall variance, it was our opinion that these options would also decrease the functionality, accessibility, and aesthetic appeal of the design, making it preferable to propose the additional variance. So as noted, the property is located on the southwest corner of Hickory Street and Hemlock Street, and the site is an assembly of 4 separate lots, each containing a single detached lot. These lots were assembled for the purpose of redevelopment, and the proposed redevelopment and the requested site-specific amendments, including the proposed density, are required to achieve the planned built form and design elements of the Northdale neighborhood, similar to the adjacent and surrounding redevelopments. So this slide just shows the surrounding redevelopment that has occurred over the years on Hemlock Street. So there's, as you can see from the diagram here, all down Hemlock are 4 to 6 story apartment buildings Between numbers 2 and 3, there are 2 single detached lots, which will be the last remaining single detached lots on the street. On the east side is the church, and then directly across from the subject lands are 4- and 6-story apartment building, which are part of an 8 building development on the whole block of Larch, Hickory, Hemlock, and Balsam streets. So as you can, as this slide illustrates, the proposed development will seamlessly integrate into the built form of the existing neighborhood. Now, Rima will just touch on some of the design and building highlights.
Hello, my name is Rima Mazri, and I'm the architect for the project. Just go to the next slide. Excuse me. This is. So basically, the site slopes down towards the corner of Hickory and Hemlock, and that determined, in addition to the zoning, a lot of the design decisions that we had to deal with. There is a high water table and under the site, so having the underground parking, we put the parking entrance under the building off of what is basically the higher point of the site, and we slope down to go into the underground parking. All of the parking is under the building. And we designed this entrance to be accessible, that comes straight forward into the building. Whereas the site slopes down, this is the lowest point, and then slopes up again. This created these steps that you see along the front. So even though these units require steps to go into the unit from the street, but they are fully accessible internal to the building. So this created 2 entrances for the building. This one is accessible, and this one is through steps. And this is appropriate for the length of the building, giving more convenient access on both sides. We have one elevator here, which is primarily to be used for moving, but we also have 2 elevators at the corner. The corner is recessed back, addressing the corner of the street, and this area is an indoor amenity surrounded by outdoor amenities, and there is some landscape, hard and soft landscape treatments in the corner. And then the entrance is stepped back, and then also on the upper floors, the building itself is recessed backwards and up, creating this canopy over the entrance feature at the corner. We have also amenity in the back that opens into an outdoor green amenity as well. And I can answer any design questions.
That's great, thank you very much. Does that cover your whole presentation then?
Yes.
The 2 of you? Okay, good, thanks. I just thought I'd double check before I moved on. Questions of Ms. Voss or Ms. Masri, council? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation. Oh, sorry, Councillor Rowe.
Through you, Chair. Thank you so much for your report. I just wanted to know, following up on Councillor Wright's question about the trees, if I'm reading the tree report correctly, that some trees, a number of trees will be removed from this location. That's correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So then, I'm not sure if staff can answer that, to speak to that too, if they are, bear with me for 1 second, if they're considered as part of our tree inventory, if that is, Joel, can you speak to that, if that's something that is necessary for this development?
Through Chair Freeman to Councillor Rowe, certainly we look at vegetation management through the site plan control process. That's usually the appropriate mechanism to evaluate such matters through detailed design. Certainly in this instance, there are grade changes between the property to the west and this property. And there will be a number of trees that will need to be removed through detailed design. We do have policies in the city for tree compensation for any trees removed. We try and replace with a 2-to-1. And if we can't replace on site with 2-to-1, we do try and secure financial compensation in lieu of trees lost to try and plant within the immediate area if we can, or broadly within the city.
Thank you.
Other questions, council? Councilor Ray.
Thanks, through you, Chair. I'm just wondering, how do you access the underground parking as a resident? Is it an elevator or stairs?
There are elevators and stairs.
And it's below grade parking, like it's underground parking, correct? It's not surface level parking
Yes.
despite the high water table?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions, council? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now I will ask if there's anyone else present this evening that would like to speak to this application, because we have no other registered delegations. So is there anyone present tonight who wishes to speak to this application? Just raise your hand, please, and you'll have 5 minutes. Okay, seeing none. Since there are no more delegations, this formal public meeting is concluded and the application is now open to council for motion and debate. And as we consider this recommendation, there's one piece that I wanted to bring to your attention, council. This recommendation in item number 2, it says council adopt official plan amendment 42 pertaining to 8385 Hickory Street and 265, 267 Hemlock, in accordance with section 6 of the staff report. When you actually look at section 6, there's a typing mistake on one of the addresses. Section 6 says 83 and 89 Hickory, but it's actually 83 and 85 Hickory. So as it's printed in the recommendation is correct here, and just know that the staff report will be amended subsequent to council's decision on this as it relates to the addresses in section 6 of the recommendation. Does that make sense? Okay. It seemed a little convoluted to me, so I wanted to make sure everyone understood what I was saying. Okay, so I'll turn to council if you, how you would like to advance this application. Councilor Rowe, did you want to make a motion?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I would like to move a motion to approve the application. Whereas council has considered all written and oral submissions from the public and stakeholders, and whereas council has considered the professional opinions of planning staff, therefore be it resolved that council approve staff report IPPW 2023-036, that council adopt official plan amendment number 42 pertaining to 8385 Hickory Street West and 265, 267 Hemlock Street, in accordance with section 6 of staff report IPPW 2023-036, that council requests that the regional municipality of Waterloo approve official plan amendment number 42, and that council approve zoning bylaw amendment Z 22-13 pertaining to 8385 Hickory Street West and 265, 267 Hemlock Street, in accordance with section 6 of staff report IPPW 2023-036.
And is there a seconder for that motion? Councilor Roach. Any commentary or debate, council? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We're on to item 11, consideration of notice given at previous meeting. I do not believe there is any notice given. Is there any notice of motion tonight, council? Seeing none. Communications and correspondence, there's none. Unfinished business, there's none. Questions, council? Seeing none. New business, council. Councilor Bassick.
So many great things. I'm going to just do 3, unless
people I went to other things with don't do it, and then I'll jump back in the second round. So I don't want to leave anybody out. The Button Factory Holiday Market launched last Saturday. They had an opening event, and it runs from November 17th until December 23rd. And there are extended hours, which I don't know right now, but you could find on the website. And the other event that they'll be marking this coming weekend is the retirement of the past executive director, Heather Franklin, who was there for 14 years. And we now have a new Button Factory executive director, Emma Walker. So if you visit the Button Factory, you can introduce yourself to her. I also went to the Oma's Holiday Market, which was at Parkminster. Really love an event where it only takes me 20 seconds to walk to, because it's really close to my house. And the Omas are like, there's a bunch of Omas everywhere, but they raise funds for the Stephen Lewis Foundation and for programs that grandmothers across Africa apply for. And it started because of the HIV and AIDS epidemic, and when parents were dying, but grandmothers were left to caregive for their grandchildren. And so this foundation started then, and the local chapter has raised almost $1 million in the last 20 years. And I went to the Nutrition for Learning comedy and cocktail event last week at Tapestry Hall, beautiful venue. Real hard to hear some of the statistics about food and nutrition needs in our community, and they're just escalating exponentially. So a beautiful event, but pretty sad data that they shared there. That's it for me.
That's great. Some good updates there. Other comments? Yep, Councillor Wright?
Thanks. I got out to Voices Empower, which is Women's Crisis Services of Waterloo Region, and Mary Lou brought greetings from the mayor and talked about our motion to support declaring intimate partner violence an epidemic. So this event is about raising money and awareness of intimate partner violence, and we walk between our public square to Carl's Air Square in Kitchener and back, and it was gorgeous weather, and there were so many people out. We saw Chief Crowley joined us with his two sons, and there were representatives from all over the community. It was just a really beautiful moment of solidarity, and I think we were raising lots of money. The fundraising is open until December 1st, so if you're interested in making a donation, you still can.
That's great, thank you. Councillor Rowe?
Thank you. Yes, I wanted to make note of the Santa Claus Parade that we participated in, Councillor Freeman and Councillor Roach, and we saw a couple people, Councillor Vasic, and that was on Saturday. It was fantastic. It was a huge turnout. The float created by the team at City of Waterloo was amazing. Yeah, it was just incredible. And in fact, people on the street were yelling at us that it was the best float ever. And so thank you to everyone who participated in that. It was amazing, and we had a lot of fun. And Councillor Vasic and I also participated in the Seniors Active Living Fair. We went there last Thursday, which was really incredible. There were over 300 people that attended that event, and many vendors. It was I thought it was a really awesome event. So kudos to Jim Bowman and staff that helped organize that event as well. Thank you.
Others? I just wanted to note that our Potters Guild, so the Waterloo Potters Guild and the Weavers Guild, and just every year put on a stunning show at Rim Park, which was this past weekend. It really is, it brings in people from all over the province to come and shop there. It was really beautiful, and I love that it combines with other weekends when there's other things going on. The Button Factory, as Jen mentioned, the craft sale at Parkminster. There was a lot of craft sales that you could tack on if you were coming in for the Potters Guild. So it was really, really, really lovely. And I just wanted to give an update too that the city really did an amazing job with Remembrance Day. I wasn't here to personally thank you for that because I was still involved in events with my own regiment. And then, of course, the Monday following Remembrance Day was a holiday here at the city. But honestly, like the number of people that came to the cenotaph, city staff just did an amazing job. Security, the building was open to let people in. There was so many people that attended. Councillor Wright's son played an amazing lament on his bagpipes. And just really, it was amazing. My regiment was out in force. They brought in troops from our squadron in St. Thomas. So there was a large number of members here, and I received a personal note from Lord Bruce just to say how impressed that he was with our ceremonies and how much he appreciated being able to be a part of it. So the city just really shone. So thank you to staff and everyone who participated in that. Councillor Hammer and Rowe we were together to lay the wreath. It was really awesome. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. I think that that's all the new business. At this point in time, we want to enact some bylaws, so if I could get a mover, please, for the bylaws. Not looking. Councillor Rowe, seconded. Councillor Hanmer, all in favor, and that is carried. And I just need a motion to adjourn, Councillor Bodley. And seconded by Councillor Wright. All those in favor, it's carried unanimously. Thank you so much, Council. Have a really great rest of your evening.